Welcome to Sequeled, guys. This week I was challenged to do Mad Max Fury Road, at least a sequel to it. I am James.
My name is Blaise.
Man, I am a freaking little kid who's just given like the coolest toys in the world, and I don't know what to do with
The
it.
keys to the castle.
Yeah.
I assume you're going to fuck this up.
I'm a little nervous about it, yeah, so I'm going to need you to calm me down a little bit. Yeah. So I know that George Miller, he does have plans for like a new trilogy, essentially. I don't think we're going to get it. I'd love to get it. I'd love to see
We're not
it.
getting it because of Warner Brothers, though.
Yeah.
Because Warner Brothers is currently being sued by George Miller, so they're holding up the rights
Right.
as ransom.
Exactly.
So they didn't pay him enough for Fury Road. Like, they hid a lot of the
Right.
money, like they do with all their shit. Like, Harry Potter, they still say, is in the red. Like,
Yeah.
it never made enough money.
Oof.
Well, then why are there theme parks about it?
Exactly, I know, right? Yeah.
Get the fuck out.
And it's not even a Warner Brother theme park. They sold it to like Universal. How'd you not get your money back?
Yeah, you had no operation
Yeah.
costs whatsoever.
Yeah,
Not like that
exactly.
or even exorbitant, but like...
Yeah. Okay, Warner Brothers. So until we get that, probably a sequel eventually. No, maybe we won't get it, but until we get it, I have taken up the screenwriting duties for this. So I know that he originally wanted to call it The Wasteland. I'm all on board for that title. I want to keep that title. But he also wanted it to be...
I thought he wanted to call it Fallout 4.
I think you're thinking of Fallout 5, actually.
Oh.
I know that George Miller wanted to continue the story with Furiosa, but I kind of want to keep up with the same trope that he's done with all 4 movies already and make a whole new set of characters to where he's just continuously being a road warrior. He's just continuing down the highway until he finds a new group of people to help out. And I'm going to keep the title The Wasteland because what is the wasteland in this? Comes across an abandoned city. Most of it is half covered in dirt. All that's hanging up is just a couple buildings that are too tall, like skyscrapers. And who is living inside these skyscrapers? Dennis Hopper. Why Dennis Hopper? Oh, because the
Land of the
Land
Dead.
of the Dead, yeah. You know what? Why not? Let's CGI him back in there instead.
Just bring him back for no reason.
Yeah. He would be great for the villainous role also.
Yeah.
So what I loved about Fury Road was all the crazy bright colors. I think a lot of people dug that, like with the desert setting. But here I want it to be a lot more dark, shadowy, like kind of a blue character or
Sin
blue.
City.
Yeah, or not Sin
Not
City, but
black
just a
and
lot
white,
of
but
blue
yeah.
lights essentially.
Got it.
Like kind of the night shots in Mad Max Fury Road. Like the night scenes how they're very blue. I'd like to keep it in that kind of color
Like
realm.
brick, kind of.
Yeah, actually, I do like the colors used in brick as well. Because it's in a city, like there's going to be a lot of shade, and so that's why I'd like to incorporate shadows.
Yeah.
And a lot of people living inside the shade. So the villains I want for this movie is I haven't seen all the movies in a while. Of course, I just watched Fury Road pretty recently. But I haven't seen any cannibals used in these, and it's in the future. I would imagine cannibals would be a thing.
I thought, like, when we first watched Fury Road, I think, like, in the first moments, I thought they were just cannibals, but surprisingly, you're right. They just
Yeah.
drink, like, milk and shit.
Exactly, yeah, mother's milk as they call it.
Yeah.
And I would think in the future, there would be in this post-apocalyptic future, there would be cannibals out there. So who lives in the wasteland? A city full of cannibals. Not necessarily like thousands of people, but maybe like up to like a couple hundred or so. Of course.
Do they keep it under wraps though, or is it like we are what we are? Like it's like in behind the shadows, they eat meat, but no one really knows until you're invited into their house.
They're kind of keep it cool, and then anyone who wanders into their land. So this
Or is it like Yulin Dog Festival where it's just like in the streets everywhere? There's like dogs and shit hanging up.
I do want to kind of keep it in the streets actually, where it's loud, but when you first enter, it's not like shown right away. It's when you get inside.
Because it's just their nature. They
Yeah.
don't really like. Oh, it just like happened. Oh, you want some food? Yeah, I'll serve you up. Don't worry.
Yeah,
And then like you're like, oh, this is really good. What is it?
that'll be
And
Max's
then they just
first
say
big
it.
thing. So my story starts with Max. He left the Citadel in Fury Road. So that's why I find it weird for him to leave and then like him to meet up with Furiosa again for a sequel. I'd love to
Yeah.
see more of Furiosa, but with this, I'd rather see Max in a whole different area. So Max took one of those motorcycles at the end of Fury Road. He lost his car, unfortunately. The Interceptor, which is a bummer, exploded. Rest in peace. So he's on his motorcycle. He's starting to run low on gasoline. So when he finds a city, he meets up to see what kind of work he can do to find this. And so they're at first nice. He walks in there. It's not loud outside in the city, but where they live inside the shadows of the buildings is where there's fucking toes hanging out and shit, skulls and everything. Like all the weapons are kind of made out of like bones and everything. They're kind of savage crew people living out there. Because we see a lot of guns, but not every city can get guns. They found some guns, but a lot of the people that he comes across will have spears. So he's gonna get captured, and all they have what the movie is mainly gonna take place, and the whole like dilemma of the film is he's gonna be across like a farmland of like people who have like been caught and captured, and people who are born and forced to like be bred to be eaten, essentially. Like they force all these people to have children. It's fucked up. Yeah. So they're farming humans to eat them for the future. It's fucked up and disgusting. And Max has to help break them free. And that's what my story is. And I did have like kind of a.
Are they in like really bad situation? Or are they like? They're not. I mean, they're obviously not happy and shit. But like, how bad of a situation are they in? Are they in like slaughterhouse situation, or are they like in a farmland? They're like okay and shit, but they're still in like cage. Or
I
like,
imagine that they're all caged and chained together, and they're like inside though still the what's it called, the butcher room. So essentially, like the person who gets picked gets like slaughtered in front of them.
This is like Okja.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
So I'm a fan of your idea so far. I really like the idea that it's like, you know, kind of a commentary on slaughterhouses, kind of commentary on how we consume meat as human beings. What do you say about like talking about the whole issue of carnism? If you don't really know what carnism is, it's basically Okja kind of went into it a little bit. Like it didn't, you know, expressly say that, but it's essentially about carnism. The fact that like meat isn't everything that you eat. It's not like an option.
Right.
Like it's like assumed. Like people assume that okay, that everything's gonna come with meat, and to choose not to eat meat is actually weird.
Yeah.
Like killing and slaughtering animals is just part of every single meal you have.
Right.
Like it's kind of fucked up if you think about it. But anyways, like I feel like this could make a good commentary on that whole you know, line of thought. And,
right.
Like just look at like when you're actually eating human beings, are you thinking differently?
Right.
The fact that like, you know, like if you're thinking of animals as human beings, essentially, I guess.
Right.
And I liked what Mad Max Fury Road did about like talking about like everyone says, oh, it's a feminist film. Like it's like explicitly saying like, you know, like fuck the men or whatever.
Right.
And this could be like the same kind of thing about like vegetarianism.
Right.
Or veganism.
That's what I was hoping to incorporate. Like, because I knew like I had to throw in some kind of theme in there. And like, of course, cannibalism, the first thing you think of, like, oh, that's disgusting. Of course, that's wrong. But yeah, also though, I wanted to throw in the whole slaughterhouse thing. Like, and not only that, but also just the fact that a lot of animals also are even sometimes forced to like eat like
shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like yeah, like they even like skimp on the food. Like they even skimp on the food just to make it even the cheapest
I
possible.
assume that the humans also that are bred to do this, they're not gonna eat their friends and stuff. So
if you make this about institutionalized cannibalism, like that's what will make it interesting.
Yeah.
You know? So I think this is a good idea. I find it interesting that it's gonna be like a Mad Max movie that has this social message. But I think if you look back at the other ones, some of them did have like an interesting message, you know, beneath the action and Wasteland and Fallout 4 style.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. Film.
With the fight scenes though, also like that was the hard thing to think of because everyone always thinks cars and everything. But I wanted to keep it more like chasing, but on foot essentially, because it's all through like. I imagine these buildings to now have become kind of cave-esque and stuff, where like they've like made it to where like all these buildings are somehow connected. So there's a lot of running through there, a lot of jumping.
I'm thinking like the Raid 2, that prison scene shit.
Exactly.
Like in the mud, something like that.
Yeah, I imagined it more as an escape movie. And like, yeah, there can be a chase scene on cars. We all love that. But I imagine just like more like kind of dirt bikes-esque in this buildings and stuff. Like they travel from building to building on dirt bikes or like even
or like
swings
mine
and
or
stuff.
something.
Yeah.
Like not like an actual mine cart, but like shit that's like the thing El Chapo used to escape the prison.
Oh gosh.
Like it was like a specific mine cart that they had created that was like made off like a moped motor and shit.
Hell yeah.
Like there's like specific, because the prison could be so these caves could be so vast that they created their own like sort of like, it's not a mine cart, but it's like a cart that will like travels these and traverses these tunnels like really quickly and shit.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it could be a cool idea.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, I dig it. I think this could be a cool look at like a way to do a Mad Max movie by taking something away, which is what you think about when you think about Mad Max. Right. Mad Max in this like future that it like this bleak future wasteland that it looks at is like all cars and motorcycles and shit, and you're kind of taking those away and looking at it from another perspective, and could still be a really interesting action movie.
Right. Hell yeah.
I like that.
Thank you.
Idea,
So that's my idea for it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments what movie we should sequelize for the future.
Let us know what you would like us to sequelize. Tell us your favorite movie. We'll figure it out. I mean, we did Cabin in the Woods Part 2. If you remember Cabin in the Woods, it ends with a huge hand coming from the sky and killing everyone. There's no way to sequelize that movie. We figured it out. Let's make a prequel. Give us whatever you want us to sequelize.